Alright, so there's this question going around asking if it's possible to make pickles by simply sticking a raw cucumber into pickle juice. So today I not only want to answer this, but I'm also going to compare them against some homemade pickles. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so to test this question, first we need some pickle juice. Now thankfully I had a jar of pickles in my fridge for us to test this. So I went ahead and removed the pickles from the brine, or pickle juice as it's known, and just leaving that in the jar. Now we just need to add in some new cucumbers, and I found a pack of mini cucumbers, which turned out to be the perfect size. Now the only thing that we really need to do here is just cut off the blossom end of the cucumbers, as you see here, which is just this side that's opposite of the stem side. Just cut the tips off, and that's basically it. Now we can just go ahead and load the cucumbers into the brine and close it up. Does anybody else feel like these look like the pickles from Stardew Valley? Anyways, so let's put these off to the side and let them sit in direct sunlight for them to begin fermenting. Now while our test pickles are fermenting, we need something to compare the results against. So for our comparison, let's quickly make our own pickles. And honestly, it's a very simple thing to do. All we need to do is basically make our own pickle brine. All right, to do this, we need 1.5 cups of distilled vinegar, and then we're gonna need to add some salt to this. So we need to add about 15 grams, or about 0.5 ounces, or about half an ounce of salt. Now, preferably try to use a non-iodized salt, because apparently the iodization process can result in cloudy pickle brine. However, I used a iodized salt and the homemade batch didn't get cloudy. So just go ahead and stir it up until it dissolves, and it might take a little bit of work, but after a few seconds of stirring, you should be ready. Next, we want to add in 1/2 cup of water. If you need to make more brine for whatever reason, just use the same ratio. One of the only key things is that we need to have about 6 to 7 grams of salt per cup of water. All right, so that's basically it for a simple brine. So now we can add in some extra flavorings to make our pickles taste how we want to. And so for me, I'm gonna add in some garlic. And garlic is really what makes kosher pickles kosher pickles. So for this, I'm gonna peel and crush 4 cloves of garlic. And next I want to add something else that gives pickles their distinct flavor, which is dill. Typically this is done with dill seeds. I couldn't really get these, so I'm just going to be using the herb dill, but it turned out great. So I'm just going to grab a few sprigs from the bunch and just chop off the dirty bottom parts. Place the garlic and dill into a jar, and make sure that jar is clean, by the way. I additionally decided to add some mustard seeds and black peppercorns. These are optional, but they're going to really bolster that pickly flavor. So now with that in there, we just need to prepare the cucumbers, just like we did before, by cutting off the blossom end. Just go ahead and place them into the jar and try to stuff in as many as you can into the jar, and then just add a little more dill on top if you want, and just go ahead and start pouring in the brine. Make sure that it covers the cucumbers entirely. I also had a little weight to help submerge the cucumbers so that they were underneath the pickle brine the entire time. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna place both jars into the sunshine to allow them to ferment in sunshine for about 5 days. So 5 days later, we can see that, well, something certainly has happened. But let's go ahead and start with the homemade pickles because they turned out awesome. So we end up with some nice and crunchy pickles with a fresh vinegary taste. The garlic in here is definitely noticeable, which I enjoyed quite a bit. Fun fact I learned though, that is apparently if you put garlic into pickle brine, it turns blue, which is kind of fun. All right, now let's look at the pickles that we created just by placing them into pickle juice. The recycled pickle juice pickles got a little cloudy, and I did a lot of research on this, and apparently this is completely harmless. This is just buildup of dead lactobacillus, which kind of makes sense because this has now gone through 2 cycles of fermentation, with the pickles that we've created being the 2nd time. Now when making pickles though, there are some things that you want to keep an eye out just to avoid so that you don't get sick. So when making pickles, you really should avoid it if there's any mold, or if the pickles are mushy or severely discolored, and also probably most importantly going by smell. It should have a nice fresh pickly smell, and if they don't, you might have a bad batch. However, I didn't want to blindly poison you guys, so before releasing this video, I did eat about 4 of these pickles and I didn't have any issues, so it just looks weird. All right, so now how do the pickles compare in taste? Well, actually both of them are really good. Maybe not surprisingly, the spices they used were different than what I used, so the flavor was a little different. Mine was more garlicky, and the recycled pickle juice had more of that traditional pickle flavor. But I mean, as I said, both pickles turned out great, so I can recommend that you can just place cucumbers directly into pickle juice and make pickles that way. However, as you can see, it's very easy to make it yourself, so you may as well, especially if you want to kind of tune the flavor and make something that really suits what you like. So if you want to make it spicy, add some peppers. If you want to make it 10 times more garlicky, you know what to do. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye.